Hello and welcome to another stream. We'll be streaming the International Provincial Chess Tournament very shortly. Stay tuned. Right, so today is another day of chess. Yesterday we had the juniors playing today, so today we're gonna be having a look at the adults today. That was called the main section. And just quickly, we have Eastern Cape chess, the chess team, and the BLCA chess open section, which is basically Eastern Cape chess versus Lusaka. This is a team chess battle, same as yesterday. 10 minutes aside, 3 seconds increment. This tournament will take 2.5 hours. And how it works is you play as a team. As you win, you accumulate points, and the team with the most points will obviously end up being the victors. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with how the tournament is looking like at the moment. So this is the tournament. So as you can see, we have another 2 minutes to go. Eastern Cape has got some very, very strong players playing today. Just let's quickly go through the list that it will be playing. Just getting list. So we got Kevin Prasant is playing, Dumiza Nkosi, Jonathan Krautz, please excuse if I pronounce your name any funny, Red Lanche, Kulasana Bafania, Jean-Pierre, Tabiso Kosa, Luzuko Indinisa, but and Lucas Ngoni. Again, please excuse if I say your name wrong. It's not me trying to be offensive to you or try and cause any conflict. This is either that I don't know how to pronounce it yet, which I'll get there over time, or I'm basically just I'm just giving the main names at the moment. If I've missed you, please do not worry. I will still be. I'll try and view your games, and we will analyze them. We will go through them. Let's talk about who I think that will win. It should be a very, very interesting contest. I do feel Eastern Cape Chess as good chances. Lusaka, if they bring their main side together, they would also have a very good chance. So I think this will be very, very interesting. However, we know in chess isn't played on paper. Chess is played on the board and on the day. So as we get ready for this, number 28 seconds to go. Please, if you're new here, please like and subscribe. Follow my page. If you can donate anything for my efforts, please do so. I have given the tournament links. So let's do this. Okay, so they're starting now. So looking at the pairings. So the first game is Fistine and Robert Spector. Okay, so we got a Sicilian that's being played at the moment. We'll wait and see what Sicilian is being played. I'm suspecting d4 to be played. Okay, we got bishop b5. The main move there would have been, so they'll exchange the bishops. I'm presuming the knights will go on to d7, followed with knight f6. White is trying to develop early in castle. Black will end up. He's got plans of g6, bishop g7, castle, and try and attack White's pieces. So let's see what happens here. So on White's time at the moment to be played at some stage. d4 would be met with c takes d4. Okay, we have a very strange rook e1. Again, d4 was on the cards. I think d4 will still be played here. C takes d4 is the correct move. Knight takes d4. Yes, and there we see it. Knight takes d4, which is the main move, and then bishop e7. Or if he plays e5, he's got a backward pawn on d6. Just quickly, we need to note that. Okay, so we have c4 and e4. That's what they call Maroxibian setup. So I am expecting knight c3, which is normal. What Black's doing of a6, he's threatening to play b5 at some point. Okay, this is a. I'm presuming the dark square bishop might go into b2, being a finita bishop, and everything is going to be focused on the dark squares. So he wants to play on the dark squares. Robert Spector plays rook c8, which is a very normal, natural looking move. He's playing the rook on the open file, so he's hoping that there's some advantages there with b5 coming at some point to break open that file, where White is actually trying to dominate the dark squares. And as you see with Robert Spector is playing a very aggressive queen a5. That's very interesting with what he's played there. Actually, for me, I think he's trying to play the. I don't know if I like knight e5 because knight e5 will be met with f4. This is very, very, very strong if you are White. f4 kicks the knight away and gives White temper. So I think Black made a minor error at the moment. So while we're going there, I want to try and see if I can view the other games also. Let's look at the other boards while we wait for this move. Okay, so while we're waiting for f4 to be played, this move is definitely on the moment. King a, he just let go of the tempo. He had a chance after playing f4 to gain an advantage. So he's played knight back to c6, which is actually very, very silly from Black also. But this is very, very strange from White. But it will be interesting to see how the game unfolds. While we wait for this move, let's look at the other game so long. So yeah, we got. So this game, we got d4. So we got almost like a queen's gambit accepted kind of position with bishop g6. So I'm just quickly going through to see what happened. Okay, so what I do see is White has attacked the f7 pawn. He gained the f7 pawn, and White's White's actually doing very well because here he's got an extra pawn. So at the moment he's playing a very, very nice game. Right, so we got a very exciting game here between Fermi Paradox and Desmond Woodyangi. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. And then let's look at this game over here quickly. Um, Batale is actually one of Eastern Cape's top players. If I remember, he's doing very well for himself at the moment, and his position is looking really really good. Let's have a look what he has done or how the game's played out. So yeah, we got a Philidor's defense. Um, White does a fantastic job castling early, knight on f3, bishop e2, breaking the pin. Now, okay, black has done a silly mistake allowing two pawns to fall, which will be one. So with black's central is very open. So if so in this position, if Bontale can keep the e4 pawn, he'll be doing very very well. Simple reason because he's got a central pawn. He's got an isolated central pawn at the moment. Um, Bontale is one a pawn. So what he's done is immediately exchanging his pieces. He's happy to move towards an endgame at the moment. If he does go to an endgame, he would certainly have the advantage. That's the plan he's having at the moment is to try and get to an endgame. The endgame would favor him because he's got 3 pawns versus 2, so he's got a majority there, and he's got 3 pawns versus 3 pawns on the king side. So this should be very interesting for him. Let's go back to Fister. So okay, what happened here? Black resigned and white was victorious. Let's see why. Uh, ah, let's quickly go through this game quickly. So what we see here. So what should have been played? This looks more natural. White should have played here. Black would take, and then you got an open Sicilian, but obviously that didn't happen. Um, this is correct from Black. So Black was actually doing really well at this point. White was doing fantastic, getting his king to safety so early. Um, I don't know if I like e6. Let's see what the engine says. Okay, e6 is okay, but I still don't know if I like it. Okay, d4 was very, very good. C takes d4, knight takes d4. What's important to note here is black cannot play this because you got this pawn that's hanging. If we look at the engine, so I'm just showing the viewers why it is very, very bad. So this is very precise play, and obviously black needs to develop his pieces. The only move he's got is it's got e7, which is which is the only step. And then c4, there's some rocks about again. This is some top, which is very, very important. Sorry, I got to click knight. Sorry. Um, a6. Let's see. I've okay. And if you were playing an engine, you would have said queen a5, but okay, that's a slip. So what he does, he played. God, but after, as we can see, I think black got himself into trouble. Got very lucky to not be defeated very earlier, but that's how chess goes. So let's look at the next game. Uh, We got Jordan Milo. Let's have a look at his game. Okay, let's just see what's happening here. Okay, we have Paradox is down a piece, but if he, but he's still a potential draw for the simple reason Black has only got one pawn left, so with precise play, you can still try and draw this game, although it's not that easy. I expect Black should win comfortably, but White can still play for draw. That is why he's still continuing. He needs to play King G5, putting pressure. Okay, that is resigned. Simple reason is he's got an extra pawn. If there was a way that White can take the black pawn, it would be a draw. So let's see what happened here. So we had this kind of setup. Personally, Black should have played e6. E6 would have been better, but he went for the accept. So we had this setup. I feel White should have played simple because you got both bishops out. You're still threatening to capture the pawn. And this would have already been, if we had to look at the engine, yes, it's minus 0.4 for black, but in the opening stages, it will end up equaling each other out. And where East, let's see what E3 sees. E3 sees plus 0.1, but again, anyway, that doesn't really matter in the opening stage. My preference would have been E4. You're threatening to capture this back. A very precise player would play maybe E5, or we've seen C6 before. Sometimes play C6 to wait to play on B5. So then we take immediately. This is a very good line. B5, which is winning for White. It's been played once. Bishop D3. This was another option that Black could have had for. This would have been a very ideal situation for White, but this is what was played. He took. This is what they call the Marshall's Gambit in the Queen's Gambit. Declined. If we can see here, played quite a few times. So what is important to note here, White's got this bishop that's stuck, and this is a nice structure, just keeping this dark square bishop out of this diagonal. Castle, bishop g4, 3, so we're still very much in theory. This is a very, very strong move. If we could look at the position, White definitely has the edge. Simple reason because a very, very strong knight. And at some point, especially this diagonal that's open. I'm just putting this. So what should have been played here, we're going to put this away. This should have maybe been played rather. Simple like that. Or you know what? Even E6 would have been better. Simple reason because engine that we saw on the engine didn't look very good. So, but the only reason why I would be very cautious is you got this diagonal, which becomes a problem. As you can see, that was a factor. C6, massive mistake, allowing Queen to be very sharp play by White. This is very, very sharp. And now suddenly, Black has got some questions to answer. Yeah, I feel the best move, he would have been forced to play something like this. Let's have a look what the end. Okay, could not play that because, sorry, I don't see. B7 is hanging. So Queen should have gone to B6, but B6 was played, followed by Knight takes F7, which is very good. Queen C7, E6, which is a power. Yeah, white was definitely winning here. King h8. I don't know if I like knight takes d7 simply because it's a very strong knight. There was no need to exchange it. His light square bishop is very, very weak. It's got limited squares, so you're actually removing a weak defender for a strong attacker with white's has got. So they should have held on to something like that. I would have rather, let's see what the engine says. I would have rather said bishop d7. Or actually, see, that's why we got engines, eh? Um, so if we played, see, this would have been better than taking. See how it's that ball. He had a full advantage. So what he should have done, this would have been better. See, you still would have kept it because you're getting this bishop active or trying to get some active somehow. But see, what the engine wants to do here is check, have this, you have this setup. You have that setup. So what it wants you to do is to play with the diagonal. So takes again. I'm not sure if I was a fan of it. E5. So I feel yeah, white let black off the hook here. So white would be kicking himself with this analyst. As you can see at the moment, now um, this position starts to be equal, and black is already slightly better. The pawn to us. So black here is slightly better. If I look at the engine, yes, slightly better. See, it's negative 0.4. See, it's still busy calculating. Simple reason because black has got the pawn, central pawn duo, which is very, very powerful. If he holds onto that, um, this would be very, very good for him. And as you can see in the engine, but even if I take the engine off, e4 should have been played to try and break the center. That was his only break. F4 was another option, but that was what he had at that point. So as you can see here, white definitely had a lot of chances here. So rook a d8, bishop d2. So what he's doing is got pressing one up each other in different diagonals. So, but white, in my opinion, is it's a little bit too late because he's hoping for e4. So this is more of a hopeful move. D4 was going to be played to keep the bishop out of the game, simply because. So knight b5, queen is queen is 7, very strong move, attacking the pawn on b4. Good exchange, but now you got rid of that pawn duo. But now here's a bigger problem for white. Black is now got a pass pawn. This pass pawn is actually very, very scary. So rook fe1, hanging the pawn on b4. Yeah, I would have maybe. Yeah. If I'm calculating it here, okay, that probably had to go, but I would have rather to a3 before the capture simply because you need your knight is also not in a very good position because what was also definitely overlooked is what happens, and I'm going to put the engine there just to confirm what happens if I played. Okay, sorry, I forgot. You got the rook here. So if we put, so if we played anything else, so play rook to d8. So the point where I'm trying to make. Okay. Okay, so actually white is still okay, but he needed to be very cautious about this pass pawn. Yeah, it looks like white is winning, but a simple reason why it's not He's got a bishop and a pawn, so he's got two pieces for the rook. So if he does somehow, and he's got a pass pawn, which obviously he will lose at some point. If if white cannot get back to it, then white's in serious trouble. Rook e7, very good. a6, knight takes d4. At that point, I'm quite sure the pass pawn was the bigger worry for him. He didn't want the pass pawn. We know us South Africans in general, we don't like pass pawns going against us. I'm just as guilty of that. So right here, it looks more that white threw away a game that he should have won. Even before the engine, when we looked through the engines, we can also see that he definitely should have won that one. Okay, we thought was very clear, so that's I'm not really going to analyze this for the simple reason is this was a very well played. So let's give credit to Botello. You did very, very well. And I feel, sir, if you're watching this or if you're watching wherever, give yourself a pat on the back. You deserve every bit of it. So now we've got Mighty Chess Hacker and Kashna GM. They're sitting on full score. They haven't lost the game yet. And we're waiting for the next pairing. So let's go along to the next game. Gemelo. Let's have a look at this. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6. Yes, we got a Scotch gambit here. Very aggressive opening this. Castle, bishop E7, rook E1. So there's nothing really much. He's just playing standard theory at the moment. What must be noted in this position, black does have this double pawn. This bishop is in a very bad position. But bottoming, they both castled. Okay, so it looks like white's won the game, but I think even by the little before we got interrupted, I think it's quite simple that black has found himself in a very, very cramped position. Because look here, now suddenly black has got two isolated pawns, so this is actually very good for white. I would rather be in white's position. Bishop d3, c5, which is very good from black, much needed. I feel black would have just let this game slide down, hands down. Bishop, finessing the bishops, aiming for the dark squares, looking to go into g7 attack. So there will be a tactic somewhere down the road for him. He's hoping for that. d4 to close the bishop off, which is natural. Knight d2, very natural also. Actually, even if he wanted to, he could have played knight a3, targeting the knight c4 square. But then I think he's got initiative going on in the king side. Bishop b7. It's a very good move for black also. Doing same principle. Only difference is notice here, guys, how this light square bishop for black is wide open. So meaning this bishop here is the story of this game. So black should be slightly better here. Not by much, but queen e2, threatening the bishop on e7. For rook e8 has to do it to defend the bishop, which is pretty standard. But yeah, we're seeing some tricks early on. Bishop b6, threatening to win the rook on e7, tempting to move. But see what black does. A very ambitious queen d5, threatening to checkmate on g2. That would be not so good for black. But white sees it with knight f3. Bishop c6, which is very good, trading off the bishop. So meaning he can still try and hang on to his bishop. That is very crucial for black. This really helps black. And suddenly, this actually does give white the chance to equalize in the game. Like I said, I did feel black was slightly better here. But right now, equalized at the moment, and it's got a lot of initiative here. Bishop c4, met with queen h5, which is very good. Yeah, black wants to try and double up these two pawns, opening the king up, trying to create some advantages for himself. And white was very happy to trade. I think it's a very good trade. Uh, white would be a little more happier to be in the endgame, although he needs to be very careful with this d pawn because as much as these two pawns are hanging, and they're very much that definitely becomes a target later on in the game. But if he's not careful, d4 becomes a weakness later on in this game. So, but knight e5 is a very strong move. It's an outpost. This knight is very strong. It will not be kicked off from its post. The only way it can get kicked off is by a pawn, which if he can get to f6 some. So on f6, he will not be kicked away anytime soon. So this is actually very, very healthy for white. They trade queens, which is expected. They're both trying to work out who is the better player in the endgame. Black is banking on possibly that d pawn to be a pass pawn at some stage, which is very, very healthy. So bishop d5. So yeah, we see a lot happening at the moment. So this is all pretty standard stuff at the moment. So I haven't seen anything really major other than, but yeah, I do think white is starting to be slightly better for the simple reason those pawns of black is still being very, very weak. They become targets as the game progresses. So now it's actually my honest opinion. G3 was played to try and activate. Now is the perfect time to start walking the king, as they say. So as you can see, I don't know why he resigned here. Oh no, sorry. Black won again. Beg your pardon. I thought white won it. Because at some stage I thought white was becoming much, much stronger. Okay, so he must have forgotten about his rook. But again, see how important it was that instead of playing f4, he needed to start walking the king. So I do feel, yeah, this would have been, king on f1 would have been a much better choice because if f6 is played and he moves the knight, say knight f3, that sounds very logical. King would have been on e2, which allows the king to be on the center of the board, getting the king the most active at its most powerful place, providing us his chances to capture the c5 and d4 pawns, which would have been very, very good for white. So, like one of the games before, this was definitely a game that white speaking himself. Let's have a look what other games there is, guys. Some very good chess at the moment. The leaders at the moment is Lusaka, day 44. EC Chess is 18. Come on, EC Chess, you guys can do better than us. Let's push it up. Okay, so let's find some more games. Let's see who we have not looked at before. 1999. So let's have a look how the game started out. E4, E5, E4. Okay, so we're seeing some aggressive chess, but letting. Yeah, my problem is he allowed his bishop to go away so freely. I'm a typical master that likes to hold on to my bishops. So yeah, it looks like black for me is slightly. I like black's position because he's got the bishop, although this bishop is very, very weak because of this d6 pawn. I do feel if black somehow manages to activate, I do think this definitely favors. And I see he's got two pawns, but this will definitely favor black. So what black will simply do is black will try and trade off the pieces just to simplify the game, so you can get to a simplified endgame. But black is what trying to go for checkmate tricks, which is also absolutely normal. But let's see how they do. Okay, let's go look for another game. So for this, we'll keep an eye on that. Um, so let's see who else can we look at. Let's go back to the top game. Fitzden. So let's see what he did. E4 C5. So he has another Sicilian. This is actually deja vu. The two of them playing each other. They're back to Sicilian again. They gone for very much the same line, but black has gone for more hands. Um, so yeah, we're suspecting bishop to g3, but already white looks like his position is in shambles at the moment, simply because black has got a lot of initiative here. There's definitely a lot of initiative. This knight is undeveloped, but it will go on to d2 very soon. What must also be taken note: this d6 pawn is a backward pawn, so it becomes. What I'd like to do is I would like to have a knight on d5 at some point. So probably c3 becomes a weakness because the knight wants to go to c3, trying to go to the d5 square. If I can get into the d5 square as for white, I'll be very happy. Guys, I would want c4 has to be played now immediately. Yeah, okay, c4 would never be played at the moment. At the moment, like I said, you wanted a knight on d5. That would have been an ideal situation for white. At the moment, black can count themselves very, very lucky. So black will simply try and exchange the pieces now because he feels it would do him very good. So you're expecting knight takes c4 at any point now, and then takes c4 just to keep the endgame alive. Okay, so now they're going to exchange rooks, so they're going straight to the endgame, guys. So this should be a very interesting endgame as this game unfolds. So let's come back to this simply because there's definitely an endgame on its way, and a very interesting one at that. Okay, this is a. Let's go back here. This is yeah. So they're exchanging the queens, so they're going straight to an endgame. So this should become a very exciting endgame. Let's see what happened here. Okay, black is 2 pawns up. See what's happened. Oh yes. Okay, so we did look at this game. Okay, so should also be very, very interesting. So just to rephrase what happened here. So black is having a very comfortable game at the moment. Um, let's give white credit. He tried to be very aggressive, which is nothing wrong with that. Let's see what other games is there. Um, let's see what other games can we look at. Garil looks like we got a no pitch. Oh, okay. So they're just starting now. So let's see how this game goes. Let's quickly watch this quick. So here's a possible Queen's Gambit. Here's a possible London system. Here's a possible Bishop G4. What is doing? Here's a double pawn. So this should get very interesting. Let's have a look what's happening. So he's finitted his bishop, which is actually very sad in this position, actually, because the bishop's biting on granite, simply because of this. So what needs to happen? So black will try and keep the position as stabilized as possible, solid, and They will try and exchange the knitted bishops. If black is able to do this, black should have a comfortable game. So the simple plan is black will try and keep this position. Don't allow white to wait for white to take. Don't take the pawn. Keep it there. Keep the structure. So this game is going to be all about the pawn structures here. That will be the difference between won and lost. And then as for okay, know what happened there, but at the moment this is also very interesting now. So you got a pawn on c6 that if black is not careful, that can become a pass pawn. And I actually really like black's pawn structure at the moment. Okay, so let's see what other games can we go. We are with so let's quickly see what I want to keep an eye on this game. I think it's also becoming good end game, so let's quickly have a look at it. Okay, I think we can leave this one now because I do think black should win very comfortably here. I don't think white can really hold on here because these two pawns become very weak. Black has got the superior pawn structure at the moment, and you've got a problems for white at the moment. But we'll go back to that. Let's look at see what other games can we look at the moment. Let's see somewhere further down if there's any games here. Okay, let's see here because this should be a very good endgame here, as we just say. Structure, but white's got some tricks because of his pass pawn. So somehow black did allow this pass pawn to get loose. However, wow, at the moment, the first thing what went to my mind at the moment is black needed to play knight to e3 at the moment, threatening to capture the g2 pawn because that's the pawn that's holding white's position together. If black can get rid of that g2 pawn at the moment, because the rook on b7 is becoming a blockade. So right now, first thing that's going to my mind is, and I'm not even looking at the engine, guys, at the moment, if I can get knight onto e3, this would be very good for black because it also becomes an out, because then you got tricks like d4, e5. So that's actually very crucial. I'm hoping here at the moment now we get to see. Yes, that is correct. So rook is probably gonna swing to g1, defending the pawn because as the pawn falls, it will be the end of the game, and white can simply resign if this happens. And now we're seeing the position completely collapsing. So let's see how this position collapses. All because of rook should have gone to g1 first. The key is here, rook. So let's go to the analyst board. So if we go back to this position here, if we look at the engine, if it screens for me, yes, knight e3 had to go there immediately because rook or g1. There's no other way. If they had to go g1, this will keep the pawn at bay. Because then you got something like you can play d5. There's nowhere this pawn can go. So you probably now look how white starts. Look how white's suddenly panicking. White is in serious trouble. I saw this immediately. Uh, it, it, so black could have won this game a little bit earlier, but notice exactly, all because this pawn structure was very, very strong, and this was the pawn that was the story of the game, because black was very clever, blockading the b6 pawn. That was the key for black, because if black can blockade the pass pawn for white of black pieces is another example. If you're a junior and a youngster, this is another example why an outpost is very important in chess. So let's look at this game. This is Pietro Stiemann from Sarah Bartman District Chess. So let's see what happened here. We had d4 96. So we got like an England kind of defense gambit. So here, as you can see, black has definitely gained an advantage because look at the pawn structure, guys. Bad for white. It's got a double pawn, and this bishop is stuck. So I'm pretty sure Petrus would keep this position as long as possible because the longer this position goes, the better it goes for him. He's playing. So yeah, we've got to keep note. Petrus is in a super position at the moment. Have somewhere in the game is c7, but his bishop is looking very healthy. I actually prefer playing for black than for white at this moment, simply because this light squib, yes, the balance exchange in the material is very, very different, but the only thing that changes is this. He's going to keep this position locked. Locked as in it's closed, so meaning in a locked position, knights are much better to have than bishops at this stage. That is why he's done it. So let's go further. Bishop e3. That is a very good move from white. Bishop d7. He's just developing the pawn. Oh, sorry, it's bishop. Queen c2. Queen c2 in my mind does nothing for the simple reason is because the bishop cannot go anywhere. That doesn't really help, and he's not attacking. He's not attacking at the moment. For me, I would have rather played Queen d2 for the simple reason is because the only bishop that's in the game is the one in e3. That's white's good bishop. So I would want to encourage white here to try and do something with this bishop. So if you're going to start an attack, you need that bishop. If Beatrice is being able to give an opportunity to exchange that bishop for one of his pieces, bearing in mind his knights are in a very good position here. But if this bishop had to be traded off, bad for white. So Queen c2, I'm not a fan of. Knight h5. I'm presuming he's threatening f5 at some point. See, this is why he needed to play Queen d2. He actually gave tempo because now he's allowing f5 to come at any stage now. So now he's playing knight h to f4. So there's an outpost again, an outpost. So the story so far of this competition so far is outpost. There's so many outposts that's being missed, or the ones that's being used, or found the strategic idea of an outpost. Those are the guys that's been winning the games at the moment. I don't know if it's kind of forced, but now we understand why Beatrice played. Let's go back. Let's go quickly analyze this. Well done to Beatrice. This was a stunning game from Beatrice. I think I've known him for such a long time. We had many epic games before, and I do feel this was one of Beatrice's best games I've seen. But noticed how he understood his conditions. So let's quickly go through his game. I'm just trying to find it where we were. So King H2. Let's see what else he could have done. He could have played Bishop C2 instead, guys, because if he should have played Bishop C2 to try and defend this position here. See how this bishop is stuck. The engine is screaming, is going, please, sir, move my light square bishop. Would you please? And bishop King H2 is actually a massive mistake because there's no sacrifice that Beatrice can do at the moment. There's still some work that Beatrice needs to do before he can take capture. So he plays F5. That's the reason why I play knight to H5. He captured. Personally, I actually would not have captured. I would have rather have allowed him to open it up himself, or just wait a little bit. So in other words, he could have something like, I think, let's think what he could have done. I think he should have waited. I would have rather played. I think the best thing he could have done is maybe played knight G1 or knight E1, because a lot is happening here at the moment, and then takes. So you captured. Bishop takes F5, bishop takes F5, rook takes F5. But notice now this double pawn's becoming weak, and now you got this pawn that's also becoming weak. They're all on their own. There's isolated pawns. There's 3 pawns that's actually very weak at the moment. So this favors Beatrice very much. And how I know Beatrice very well is he's got no problems on attacking your weaknesses in the game. So G4, very, very bad mistake. He should have rather exchanged knight, because he should have taken the knight. Simple reason, because that knight was very strong. This would have been a good exchange. If you can see there, negative 1.4, meaning black is still better, but there's still gain. There's still work to do for Beatrice. But see how G4 suddenly becomes negative 3.4, which means that is very, very bad. That means if Beatrice finds the right moves in the next bit, black is in serious trouble. Oh, white is in serious trouble. Say plays rook f8, which is very logical. Again, he's not an engine. I think I probably would have done the same. So let's give him credit for rook f8. Again, if we look at the engine, he should have played knight g1. I immediately also do not like king g3, because simply you're opening yourself up for a sacrifice, which that's what Beatrice did. If he played, let's go back a little bit. If he played knight g1, queen e7, f3, see, suddenly, yes, it's still worse, but suddenly there's a lot more for black to play for. So there's still some tricks that black had to try and discover, but simply because king g3 allowed the sacrifice, allowed a tactic to come through. So that is actually very, very bad. So Beatrice was not going to miss out on that. He gets a knight, so he wins the pawn for his efforts, which is very good from Beatrice. And here, in my opinion, white is paralyzed. You know, there's memes, wherever you see these memes, there's those memes that says call an ambulance, and it says not for me but for you. This is exactly, this meme is for me, is came to life, because here white is in serious trouble. If we put on the engine here, yes, here you can see also negative 7.2, which means this is very bad for white. For white to save it is going to be very, very difficult. And Beatrice, player of his caliber, he is not going to let you get away with it. At the moment, you can only hope, but look how beautifully these pieces are all lining up to white's king, simply because there's a lot of initiative for because he can have a knight on f4 at some point. He's going to kick the bishop away to try. He's got so much to do. And here's h6, what we expected. I actually did not see it. Bishop e3, knight h4. Yes, that's coming. So suddenly all the black pieces are starting to attack white king, simply because white king is very, very weak at the moment, very vulnerable now. And all because of g3. If he played knight to g1, he could have held on to the position a little bit longer, waiting for Petrus to do another sacrifice and maybe just king h2, queen g6. Now let's look how beautifully Petrus aligns his attack. Queen d3. He brings his rook back. Personally, I don't know if I like that one. Yeah, if I look at, let's not use engine because we are not engines, but I would have kept this here. What happens if we played h5? Open the king further, because this bishop cannot go anywhere because the queen is pinned. The queen is pinned. So h5 in my mind is very good, provoking. Sure, g5 will probably be played, but if he captures, you got mate in one, and you cannot ignore it. You opening the king even further. But let's give Petrus his credit. He did play very well. Let's see who we have not looked at in a while. Let's have a look at Ghost of Pain and Charlie. White winning the game. This was quite obvious. Let's see what happened here. Looks like we had a King's Indian. Already I'm seeing black. I did not like black's position simply because, let's go and analyze this quickly. I actually did think black played his opening very, very wrong. And please excuse the engine, just so we can make the move here was e5. That's immediately what I was seeing. Engine's just if you think I'm following the engine, it's not the case. It's just confirming my ideas. And basically what it confirmed is our e5 would have been much better here. So you can attack the king. If he castles, you got knight c6. If he pushes, you could have had this setup. This setup I've played many times before. It's actually a knight. Yes, white. The modern engine will say white is slightly better, but again, you're not playing an engine, you're playing another human. If you're playing another human, it's basically all it is a race. It's whoever, white is going to attack your queen side, black is going to attack your king side, and simply whoever gets in. For me, this would have been a much better choice for black, and I think this would have given him a little bit more edge. I think Charles is a very good player, very nice guy. I just think at this moment he just needed, like I said, he needed to play his opening a little bit better. But you know what? I'm sure next time he'll get it right, and next time he'll be a lot better player. So let's have a look. So now the scoring at the moment is 117 for Lusaka. Eastern Cape 40. Come on, guys. Eastern Cape, you guys can do better than that. You can do much better than that. I know you guys can. So let's see what other games is there to look at. Let's have a look at Botella. Botella is having a superb game. This fella, I'll tell you one thing. Many years ago, meaning played a few times before, and many players underestimated him. He used to have a negative score with majority of the players, and I've always said he was gonna at some point he was gonna be a very very good player. I remember me and him had one game, and he made me work. He made me really really think. Now he's definitely becoming a handful, and I think if he watches this at some point, if you're his friend watching it, you can give him a pat in the back and actually allow him to be proud of himself simply because he's improved dramatically. I think he can really be proud. Yeah, he should have played e4 immediately because now he's blocking his bishop. So at the moment, position's still roughly equal. Um, not much happening, but okay. I don't know if I like this one. I've got nothing against him. I just, as I said, I don't know if I like this because you're doubling up your pawns and you're ruining your structure. I don't mind him capturing this because you got two knights on this, so this would do nothing. I think rather if you played rook b1 or even play immediately rook c1. Rook c1 would have been really trouble for him. That would have been that's a beautiful move that we're waiting for. Don't know what happened. Yeah. So let's look at this game. Like I said, beautiful game at the moment. So let's get straight to the critical position. Sorry guys, I noticed my camera was very, very bad. So at the moment we're seeing white should be winning very carefully, but there is a lot of work still to be done because you've got a pass pawn here on e2. It can become a problem if white is not very careful. So white needs to be very careful what he does here. This will be over for black very, very soon. Although we do have a pass spawn, so I do suspect this to be almost like a Queen's ending, Queen's endgame. So let's see what happens here. So beautiful win there for white. He deserves every single credit here. So let's look at. So the standings here is Lusaka's 134, Eastern Cape Chase is 42. So let's share this stat. Jerome is doing well. He's a pawn up, as you can see in this position. There's still lots to be played for, but I feel this is going to be a draw simply because you've got opposite bishops that needs to be taken into account. So let's see what other games we can look at. But let's have a look at this game, guys. So they both berserked one another. So we got d4, c5. So we got the old banana. Oh, this is a beautiful treat to see. This is what they call the Genko Gambit. So this should be a very, very good game. Although white is definitely ahead over here. Although for playing this was a very, very aggressive opening to play. So let's see who else we can view. Okay, let's view this one. Well, black is in course. Corsi, very good player from the Eastern Cape. And we're seeing a Caracan defense. Project 14 decide to berserk. I don't know if I would do that against Corsi. And Corsi's spawn structure is actually very, very nice. It's important to note that the spawn is very isolated. I actually like Black's position very much here. Only weakness here is his bishop is very, very weak. Okay, we're gonna see an en passant. That should have been en passant because this pawn was very, very weak. Because now simply black has definitely got a lot of initiative here. Queen is not doing much. He's maybe can do is hope for is bishop h6, and that was what we played, followed by queen e7 or rook f7. As we suspect, so I'm suspecting rook f7 or queen e7, both still very, very good. I don't know if I like bishop g5. I would have played rook e1, trying to swing my rook across, or try and get my rooks in the game. Some advantage for black is simply because of his bishop. Now simply, again, I don't know if I like this because now I can even play. So now we're seeing very aggressive play by Nkosi. Let's see what other games we can quickly follow. Okay, as predicted, I did see White won the game quite comfortably in Ghost of Pain. Expected. So let's see which other games. I do owe some of you because I do notice I didn't have my camera on those certain boards. I do apologize. Again, I'm still new to this, so I'm obviously still going to make some natural mistakes, but let's keep it here. So black is winning the game simply because white was very played very hopeful chess, as in hoped for something to really happen. Therefore, well done to black. I think you definitely deserve this game. You were definitely the better player in this game. Was not. So let's see. Now this one. So what did we get? We got a little bit of got a King's Indian kind of setup. So this is okay. So let's quickly analyze the position. As you can see, black. I don't know if I like this bishop there, but okay, if you can play c5 at some stage, then that bishop's a very dangerous bishop. But then what must also be noticed here is white's light square bishop is very powerful at the moment. Very powerful. So what I would actually be thinking about immediately is you can maybe trade off this pawn and try and push d5 to try and close this diagonal as quickly as possible. And you're going to have to just accept that this bishop is very weak. You can maybe exchange, have this knight here, but we need to close this diagonal simply because it will become a problem somewhere in this game. Simply because if white does find some sort of tactic, this does come into play if there's a tactic a little bit later on. So while we're at it, I'm looking at what other games I can look at quickly. So let's see what's happening here. As we can see, a lot is happening. So white's got a lot of thinking to do. I do suspect he'll take a minute or two trying to figure out what he wants to do. Okay, going back to here. As you can see, white has won. Very good game from Jerome. I think that was superb, especially with this pass pawn. Lovely. We love to see very good chess, Jerome. We always welcome that. So let's share this tabs along, and then let's have a look at what other games I can find. So yeah, goes the pain berserk. So it looks like we got a Queen's Gambit accepted. So what I'm seeing at the moment is nothing's really happening. It's just a lot of development at the moment. Trick from Goes the Pain. So let's give him credit for that. I'm quite sure at this point he saw what they saw the Greek gift. What's wrong with if he played yeah first, guys? I'm pretty sure he has a checkmate here. So let's keep an eye on this a little bit. This should be very interesting still. Okay, let's have a look at Pietro Stiman. We're seeing e4, e5, 93. So we're seeing the Italian game. So we're still in development game. Okay, Beatrice has berserked his games. At the moment, this is just a sacrifice, just to speed up development. Okay, he's threatening. Yeah, is a checkmate that he was threatening. I do think Black needs to be very careful here because White has got a lot of things happening at the moment. So I like White's position. I like the initiative that he went for. He's playing for the initiative. Why did he not play? Okay, never mind. What we need to note here is at the moment this pawn is on its own, but it can be a potential pass pawn along the line. And the reason why I played bishop here, simply because this was a good square, and this pawn cannot take the bishop because ours the queen hangs. So very good move, and I'm expecting bishop g3 to kick the queen, and suddenly, what happened here, Beatrice? And now he's going to play bishop d6. He missed bishop d6. Bishop d6 in my mind was a lot more scarier. So Beatrice blundered there, but that does happen. That happens to the best of us. I just think at this moment he had a very good position at the moment, but by knowing Beatrice, he will fight to the end. And surprise, surprise, Black has actually blundered his bishop, so and I was and suddenly if you're White, you'll feel still realistic and still feel like you're in this game, guys. So let's give credit where it's due. We're seeing a very good game now. So I expect Queen take on d5, Rook takes g4, and what must also note is Beatrice over here has got a very powerful bishop on this diagonal, and he's got a rook that's aiming at the king. C1 was expected because he's looking at this diagonal. He's got this trick coming up, so he's got one. You equalize with one of the pawns. I'll be back shortly. Sorry, guys. Let's go back to this. So yeah, bishop takes c7 looks delicious at the moment, but let's see what happens. I'm quickly going to go. Yeah, we will go back to Beatrice at the moment. I see Black 1 goes to pain, won a nice game. Yeah, this position, in my honest opinion, but I do feel Black could have won it a little bit sooner, but it's okay. Let's go back to this one. Right, so this game, still lots is happening there for Bontele. It's a pawn down, but what's interesting, White's got two very, very nice knights at the moment, so we'll see what happens here. I do suspect Bontele exchange one of the knights to try and gain some breathing space. But what must also notice here is he has a weak pawn here on f3. So at some stage that can come to play. Let's go back to Beatrice's game as we're seeing how things unfold. It looks a little bit suspect to me for the simple reason E. Okay, that was the only move you could have done. Queen a4, very aggressive by Beatrice. He is at the moment threatening to play Rook h4 at the moment, meeting with. And if he, yeah, he's got a very interesting one. Now he's got to be very careful because of Bishop c5 and Rook e2. Bearing in mind, Bishop g3 is holding f2 together, so this doesn't really fear Petrus that much. So I'm pretty sure he will end up playing b, or he could have played b3, but I don't know why I went for this. No, he could have played it because it's not that c5 was hanging, and he's going to simply lose the b2 pawn. So it'll be 2 pawns down. b3 would have been slightly better for me. Beatrice, yeah, in my opinion, he had a tactic here at the moment. He missed a tactic on d5, but he will get it back anyway. 5, because he wins the bishop. Because right here at the moment is bishop should have gone to f8, in my opinion. So we've got one repetition already. He missed d5. And now here's a checkmate coming here for white. King h1. Queen g7. I don't think black can stop it. All black can do. So rook takes g7, presuming that is next, simply because you got h7 squared that's in trouble. So let's see what happens here. Many ways to win this for Beatrice. Rook takes f4, so Beatrice should win this game at any moment. So this is pretty much resignable, right? g4, threatening g7 mate, and this is unavoidable at the moment. Only thing he can do is g5, but then Beatrice can just gobble up another pawn if he wanted to, but he's going to go for the f6 pawn. So I do suspect rook f2 to come, but this is pretty much over. We congratulate Beatrice for winning this one. Very good player. One of the players you do not want to give him a single gap, with all the respect. I'll be with you in 2. Okay, so as you can see at the moment, Beatrice, there is a chance of him being flagged if he's not careful. Remember, he did, bearing in mind, he did berserk, so meaning he does not get increment. He forfeits his increments. So this would be a painful way for Beatrice to lose this one on time. You feel sorry for him. Yeah, he was definitely better over here in this position. So that's actually such a pity. I do feel for him at the moment. Let's have a look at this game with Feinstein and Macaulay. So we had a So let's see how this position started. Firstly, I don't know if I don't know if I like this for black simply because my bishop, but then this is more like a stonewall kind of defense, guys. Don't know if I liked f4. I would have kept this simply because this pawn is blocking this bishop, so meaning he's equalized for this bad bishop, and Black has got chances. So what I would have rather said, um, maybe exchange the rook, give the file because that file's anyway coming, and it would have been better than f4 in my honest opinion. Simple reason because you don't want to give the dark square bishop any room. But yes, you equal, but see that's what you do not want to do. You don't want to activate this bishop. Now this pawn is isolated. He loses, so white loses the pawn. But I'm happy to lose the, or not now because the rook is hanging. But I would much rather give a pawn getting this. This looks very nice for white actually. So now he holds onto the pawn, and I'll notice simply because white's bishop is actually in a very nice position. Only reason because black allowed this bishop to get active. This is actually fantastic. So black will need to exchange his bishop quickly. This will be the story of this game. And so far we're correct because we're seeing this doubling. I do think so. Probably white for me looks a little bit better for simple reason. Yes, they got opposite bishops, but then this bishop, they got bishop pairs. Sorry, not opposite bishops. Been doing this too long now. This is my longest I've done it. But simple reason is this bishop is very active, and this bishop is very bad. So is this. This is a very good knight. But it boils down to I really rather be white in this position, simply because this bishop is super active, and that is from first team allowing this bishop to get active. You should have held on and not play f4. I'm dead certain about that. Let's see what other games there is, but we will keep an eye on this game. We're going to keep the camera on this board while I'm looking at someone else. The scoring at the moment is 227 to Lusaka versus Eastern Cape. So we're going to finish this game. Again, I still prefer white. Simply black has allowed this initiative to take place. Okay, so Freddie Woodendale is number one in my opinion. He's number one in Eastern Cape. Rating might not reflect it, but in my opinion, he's one of the best players I've seen. We're going to see if we can try and follow his games. Just also note, if you're following the stream at the boardwalk on Tuesday, please contact him, see if you can enter. If you're wanting a very good coach, please go to him. He's very, very good at the moment. It's a lovely guy. He will get the best out of you. So let's see if Freddie gets it going very soon. I'll be very interested to follow this. White is victorious, black resigns. This simply occurred because of this bishop. That bishop was the story of the game. Should have never opened it up. We got 58 minutes of tournament at the moment. We got Lucas so leading by far. We're waiting to see if Freddie will get any games. It would be nice to follow that. Let's see what other nice games we could follow. This is a game between. Let's see what happens at the moment. I think White is definitely better. The king is in a terrible position, wide open. So I do think White is definitely slightly better, even though the queen's active. I still prefer White's position. Knight c3 or knight bd2 is also not bad. But again, I did prefer queen knight c3. I did call it first. I actually did not mind. So we're gonna follow this game as the last one from my side. Rook e8. He's trying to occupy the file. Again, if you want to play the Boardwalk tournament, that's the next tournament which is over the board, please contact Freddie if you plan to enter. Again, very nice chap. And again, if you want to donate anything, might not have been that great. Again, I'm still new in this. I'm still learning. There's one thing playing. You have to analyze and commentary. It's a very different ball game. So I hope the viewers here can be a little bit easier, not be too critical. I promise the next time I do stream, it will be much better now knowing how everything works. I should have maybe tested beforehand. Again, humble apologies. And black wins comfortably, but again, I don't know if I like the position. We'll quickly analyze it before I close the see what happens here. So let's see. Black missed knight e3. That was a tactic winning a rook. He could have played it because he was threatening g2 also. So he missed it. So I'm presuming queen takes 2. It was gobbling a pawn. Still, he could have played knight e3 was still a very nice looking move. And it's still available. Now rook e1, and then you can play immediately queen d2. This is over. White will resign shortly, and we'll quickly analyze this game. Very nicely done by Gavin Prasant. Congratulations to you, sir. He also plays for Sarah Bartman District. Very nice player, very nice human being, very kind. Let's quickly go through that, and I'm going to call it a day from our side. Um, so Namzovic defense, which is a very nice opening if you know what to do. F4, very nice. Um, C3, this is all pretty standard. This was, let's use this. I think this is a very good, yes, this is very, very good. Queen D, white is winning. Let's find out what went wrong. King F8, wins the bishop back. Queen F2, I don't know if I like Queen F2. This should have been better because I'm pretty happy for black to get some counterplay, but I suppose he was probably worried about this diagonal with the queen, yeah. Queen E7. I would have played Queen C3, not C3, or even or even E5. I was actually surprisingly, I was actually seeing it. If you saw my cursor, I was actually seeing that because if it takes, you finish. Was very important to note. You're finishing off with a check over here, so King E1. Bad kings in the center. You simply you can even play on knight here, and this is actually very good for white. So this is actually Gavin didn't had the best setup, but then okay, that does show chess still needs to be played. You still had to play this game. So again, well done to the guys. So far, as the end of the stream, looks like Lusaka will be winning this game. But your guys like Beatrice and all of them, take a bow. Looks like you guys did very, very well. Um, so that's the end of the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, if you like, subscribe. Hopefully next time will be a lot better, I promise. And yeah, you can donate and let me know what you think of this tournament. Thank you. Goodbye.